Welcome to the highlights of today's Project Edward activity. I'm James Luckhurst and it's Wednesday the 19th of October. Today is National Safe Speed Day. Last week, police forces around the country began a 3-week focus on speeds with routine enforcement activity accompanied by a range of messages shared across social media to raise awareness among drivers and riders. Monday saw police forces ramp up things for 2 weeks of higher profile enforcement activity, concentrating on locations known for serious collisions. For a 24-hour period, which started at 7 a.m. today, police are redoubling their efforts to encourage compliance with speed limits. Chief Constable Joe Shiner, National Police Chiefs Council lead for roads policing, said, "I am fully supportive of this year's National Safe Speed Day on Wednesday 19th of October. Once again, I welcome the efforts by members of the Project Edward team to highlight the benefits for all road users of understanding and choosing speeds that are legal and safe." Earlier today, Neil Jewson-Smith visited Cardiff to find out about the introduction of the Welsh Government's default 20-mile-an-hour zones.
Bore da, and croeso I Gymru. I shan't embarrass myself any further by trying any Welsh, but you can gather that we're in Wales today. Project Edward Road Trip is in Cardiff, and we're at Rada Primary School with the Go Safe team, the organisation, an all-four force organisation across Wales, and partnership looking at speed. But they also deal with mobile phone and seatbelt enforcement as well, which we're going to speak to one of their enforcement officers about shortly. We're also here with South Wales Police, so we're looking forward to a great day here for Project Edward road trip at the primary school in Rada.
Coming along to the school today to see the children, to get the message over to the parents, is massively important because they're our future drivers, you know. They've probably got a lot of influence over the parents as well. I know my children certainly have told me off before now. So yeah, it's a good, and they've got a good platform as well, because a lot of people follow the school social media accounts, you know, so it's a good way to get the messaging out there for us.
How's the 20-mile-an-hour side of things working for you in Wales at the moment?
It's going surprisingly really well. We've got 8 phase 1 sites across Wales. All of them are live, so they've got the signs and lines in place, if you like. We're carrying out lots of different sort of tactics to understand if education works, if prosecution works, what works best. But we found drivers respond well to education. So our education initiatives. South Wales Fire and Rescue developed a brilliant education package called Just 1 Minute, and we use that alongside neighbourhood policing teams. We stop the vehicle speeding. They have the education, 15 minutes education with South Wales Fire and Rescue delivered at the roadside or in a venue very close, and it alters drivers' behaviour. It's been very, very positive.
I'm a camera enforcement officer with South Wales Police, attached to the Go Safe Safety Camera Partnership. Okay. Which is the safety camera partnership of Wales. It's the 4 Welsh forces, the unitary authorities, form Go Safe. Okay. So this is one of our new standard Go Safe vans. The vans will be unique across the 4 Welsh forces. It's all set up with equipment. These are the 2 laser units that we would use within South Wales Police and Go Safe. They are what's termed type approved speed detection devices. So anything that we detect on the road would be recorded onto either the compact flash or the SD card, and then that would be processed then by our central ticket office. So if I detected a speeding offence, the device would activate, and then obviously the notice of intended prosecution would be sent out by our central ticket office. It's the same for seatbelts, mobile phone offences. A lot of it is intelligence led. I might get members of the public saying, "Oh, you need to come here on a Saturday night." So we come here on a Saturday night, because obviously we can only come to these locations 3 or 4 times a month. Okay. So if we have the information from the residents that there's an issue here at a certain time, we'll try to accommodate them. It's a mixture of looking at the vehicle, the monitor. We would target with the sight and scope in the laser device for the speed element of road traffic. But if obviously somebody's not wearing a seatbelt, it's a visual, and then we just hash mark the unit, and that would imprint then on the compact flash. And the same then, we would put a manual record in, that would imprint on the SD card. Yes, we can park these vehicles up without even switching the camera on. The deterrent is there.
And have an impact on road safety.
If I'm driving from one part of South Wales to another, could be 30, 40-mile drive, my presence on the road is a deterrent.
Neil Dewson-Smith was reporting from Cardiff. Now, each day this week, we're highlighting a different pillar of the SAFE system with Transport Scotland. Because today is National Safe Speed Day, it's only fitting that we look at the Safe Speeds pillar. Speed limits in a safe system are based on aiding crash avoidance and reducing the speed at which impacts occur. This ensures the body's limit for physical trauma is not reached or exceeded. The SAFE system aims to establish appropriate speed limits according to the features of the road, the function it serves, and the physical tolerance of those who use it. Let's take a look at the Transport Scotland video on safe speed.
Safe speeds, part of the SAFE system. In Scotland, our road safety framework is underpinned by the SAFE system. Safe speeds is one of the 5 key pillars of this system. The SAFE system recognises that while people make mistakes which can lead to collisions, no one should die or be seriously injured on the road as a result. Safe Speeds aims to establish speeding as socially unacceptable and encourages all road users to understand and travel at appropriate speeds to the road conditions and within the speed limits. Setting appropriate speed limits on our roads will assist in improving road safety performance, health outcomes, the promotion of active travel, climate change mitigation, placemaking, and economic growth. For example, setting a lower speed limit of 20 miles per hour, where vulnerable road users and vehicles mix, can create more pleasant communities where the space is shared more equally between different road users, creating a safer environment and encouraging people to make active travel choices. If in the unfortunate event a collision was to occur, at lower speeds people have a higher chance of survival, whether travelling inside or outside the vehicle. Technology can also assist safe speeds, with average speed cameras and targeted camera enforcement aimed at improving driver behaviour. Everyone has a part to play in keeping themselves and others safe on the roads, by acting responsibly and within the law, because even one death is one too many. Together, making Scotland's roads safer.
Now, Project Edward wouldn't be possible without the support of our valued partners and sponsors. In a moment, we'll be finding out a little bit more about Jenoptik. But first, Westcotec, the leading brand in traffic safety systems in the UK. We spoke to Chris Spinks and Ollie Samways about the work their company does to improve road safety.
Hi, I'm Chris Spinks. I'm the Managing Director of Westcotec, Intelligent Traffic Safety Systems company based in Norfolk in the UK.
And I'm Ollie Samways, and I'm the Sales Director of Westcotec Limited.
And we design, manufacture and install intelligent traffic safety systems. We have been established for 20 years. We're an employee-owned company. The whole point of what we do is to prevent collisions on the road, try and save people's lives, and ensure that people make their journeys safely. Westcotec is an employee-owned company. We went into employee ownership in 2018, and what that means is that we're able to plough back our profits into investing in staff, investing in our facilities, and making sure that the company is absolutely spot on, delivering the best for its employees and ultimately its customers.
Being an employee-owned company has allowed us to explore other markets that traditionally we weren't able to from before, from a founder-owned point of view. Our first or largest exhibition internationally was in Amsterdam earlier this year, and it's allowed us to speak to potential distributors from around the world. And from there, we also attended ITS World Congress in Los Angeles 2 weeks ago. This was supported by Innovate UK and the Department for Transport. And again, it's allowing us to look at an entire new market, a new sector of how to distribute our products away from the UK.
Westcotec has supported Project Edward for the last 6 years, and we see it as as a campaign that sits right alongside the ethics of the company. We're all about road safety, we're all about collision prevention. I was a road policing officer for 30 years before I joined Westcotec, so I have seen both sides of what can happen on the roads, and I'm passionate about preventing those unnecessary deaths. And Project Edward, in my eyes, is one of the most efficient, most long-lasting, most outreaching project to try and prevent those and work towards that ultimate goal of every day without a road death. So Westcotec will continue to support Project Edward for the foreseeable future.
Innovation is key to the continued success of the company. We have a number of new products lined up for release later this year, and you'll hear updates throughout as we get towards release and into next year as well. We're strong believers of collaborations, and these will be coming to fruition throughout next year as well, and we look forward to sharing this with you.
Thanks to Chris and Ollie from Westcotec for their enthusiastic support over so many years. But now let's head to Bedford. We'll find out all about average speed systems, how they work, how they can improve safety in communities. Reducing speed limits in residential and urban settings is one of the most effective and economical ways to make streets safer and more pleasant. Recent changes in government regulations mean it's easier for local authorities to implement those speed limit changes. Here in Bedford, setting speed limits is a key part of Bedford Borough Council's local transport plan. But it's sometimes not enough to hope drivers will pay attention and slow down, and that's when average speed cameras may have a part to play. Charles Royden is the council portfolio holder for highways, transport and environment.
Average speed cameras are really, really important for our residents. They're crying out for them across the borough, and we're trying to install as many as we can and finding dramatic results, very positive results in terms of reducing road speeds, reducing casualties, keeping everybody safe. In this road, if you'd been here a couple of years ago, you'd have seen traffic going exceptionally fast. We'd have had lots of complaints from residents about the speeds of the traffic. Now we have none. The speeds have just dramatically reduced, so you won't see people on this road speeding hardly at all. And they know that that's because if they do transgress the speed limits, they're going to have a fine. So people observe them very, very well. And so that now I've got people all over Bedford Borough crying out for average speed cameras. We can't introduce them quickly enough. It's because of public pressure that we're having to do them as often as we are. And we'll continue to do so because we know how important it is for our residents.
Alan Burles is Principal Project Engineer at the Council. So what were the specific issues at this location?
Pole Hill Avenue's a very wide road for a 30-mile interurban road. You can see that it's not just a simple single-lane road. We've obviously got some large central hatch for turning islands and that sort of thing. What that means when you combine that with wide verges and houses that are set quite far back is, from a driver's perspective, it would be quite easy to forget that you're in a 30-mile-an-hour limit.
Across Bedford, there's clear information and encouragement for drivers to slow down. And if that doesn't work, then the average speed cameras are there to reinforce the message. Jeff Collins of Jenoptik explains the importance of understanding, first of all, if there is a speeding problem, and secondly, what's causing it.
I think the very most important thing is to understand what is the issue that you're looking to address. Is there a problem, and how do you want to address it so that it will give the best overall outcome? So, for example, if you have a road where there are no casualties, there are no collisions, there isn't a perceived speed problem, you're not going to get any benefit. You can't reduce a problem which doesn't exist to start with. However, it's useful to understand what are the factors behind problems if they do exist. So it's not just about putting a piece of metal at the side of the road. It's understanding what the traffic flows are, what type of vehicles are, what the conditions are at different times of day. And in many cases, it may be that by putting up an approach like average speed cameras, you can improve that.
The council invests because that's what the residents want. So let's find out how a few people on Pole Hill Avenue feel about the cameras and about road safety in general.
Certainly with the speed cameras, I think people are more conscious, and certainly if they get a speed ticket, they will certainly think twice, I would have thought, before doing it again. And there's so many children around, you've got to be so careful with them anyway. They do run in the road.
I think the cameras here have made quite a good effect, that people did used to go much faster, but the cameras are taking effect with speeding here.
I am a pedestrian, I don't drive myself. Crossing busy roads obviously is probably more places than others, but I do believe that the speed limit of 20 miles an hour or even 30 miles an hour needs to be enforced.
On Pole Hill Avenue at least, the cameras are there to assist in creating a calmer, safer environment, and they appear to be doing a good job, as Alan Burles points out.
You can just see the way that the traffic is behaving. It feels very calm. There's just a nice general atmosphere. Everyone's sort of abiding to the speed limit now. We've had cyclists go past, people walking, and it just feels like a very nice, serene atmosphere.
And many thanks to Jenoptik for their enthusiastic support of Project Edward. Now, the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership has laid on a big engagement event today at Preston bus station, one of the largest bus stations in the world. Our Stuart Lovett was there to share the occasion.
Michael, come on, breathe in.
The Project Edward here today with Lancashire Road Safety Partnership and the police and fire helping for Project Edward. Looking at local community speed watch. This is for the young residents of Lancashire to learn about road safety and how to cross the road correctly. So, Project Edward here today in Preston as support of Project Edward Week, and I'm pleased to say that I'm with the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner Andy Pratt, also the chair of the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership. So Andy, Project Edward this year has got a theme of changing minds, changing behaviours, and it's all about partnership working. So how does that work across Lancashire?
The theme of changing people's behaviour, I mean, that's incredibly important for everyone across the county. Whilst we can enforce and we can do lots of other activity, people have got to change their behaviour, and I'm really grateful. There's some really good examples here of how people can work together. There's everybody here, from the ambulance service to the police to the local road safety partnership in terms of information for young people and also for all road users. We're also here with our victim services, so anyone that's been subject to a collision and is a victim of that, they can get help as well. But it's really important we do change people's behaviour, and we can only do that through information, through engaging with them, and Preston bus station's a fantastic spot for that.
Within my role, I'm the Assistant Exec for Growth and Development, and Highways comes under that. So road safety is a really important part of that. And today is just a showcase of the partnership working that's going on across Lancashire with various different partners. So it's great to be here to see all the work that's going on.
So this week's theme of action for this year is changing minds and changing behaviour. How important do you think that is to your constituents across Blackburn with Darwin?
It's so important, and road safety is part of everyone's life, and we all, drive cars or sit in cars as passengers, and it's so important that people recognise the behaviours that need to change. Road safety covers such a wide range of issues, but we can all play a part and drive safer and make the road safer for all of us and for all of our families and friends.
First of all, we attend serious collisions. Once we're at the scene, we use the laser scanner essentially to plot the scene and to identify key points of evidence. We can build plans from the scan data, and we can also use it in other analysis such as CCTV analysis. In this case, there was CCTV footage of a vehicle travelling through or down Blackburn Road. We laser scan the scene. We were then able to use images from CCTV to stitch them into that image and to pinpoint exactly where that car was at certain points. Given the time that it had passed between those points, we were able then to calculate its speed. In this case, the speed was 57 to 66 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour area.
Well, that is just ridiculous speeding in a local trip. Yeah. But I believe that this is not the first time that Lancashire Police have dealt with this individual.
No, this male had previous speeding offences.
Right. I'll look this way now and smile. And you've just moved slightly. Yeah.
So Elka, as part of Project Edward, we're here to raise awareness of partnership working, etc. So I've never seen this kit before, so what are these things?
Yeah, so these are what we call skates, and we use them to move vehicles off the network. If the wheels aren't able to roll, we'll put one of these under each wheel of the vehicle, and then we're able to drag it safely onto the hard shoulder. This is our load cell reader.
Load cell reader?
Yeah. So if we need to move a vehicle from live lane onto the hard shoulder or to a place of safety, we'll use our straps that we have in the vehicle, we'll hook the vehicle up and we'll attach this, and inside here is a Bluetooth device, and it gives us the readings of how many kilonewtons of force we're using to drag a particular vehicle to safety.
The important message from Project Edward, in conjunction with the North West Ambulance Services, changing minds and changing behaviours. What we really want to understand is, how we can change people's perceptions of the way they drive, the implications of what occurs once they drive, whether it be under the influence of drink, drugs or speeding, the repercussions of what occurs as well. So here we are today with an ambulance crew. We've got some volunteer first responders here as well, and they are teaching people how to do CPR, bystander CPR at the roadside should something occur, fatality, a pedestrian or a driver. To do CPR, you don't need any formal training. The reason why we're here today is just to take some of the ambiguities away, some of the fear factors away in learning how to do CPR and how to use a defibrillator. Children as young as 8 years old can competently use a defibrillator without any formal training. So just to have that little bit more of an understanding, a bit of background, we just want to give people that confidence to be able to do something very important but very simple.
Stuart Lovett in Preston. And Stuart will be venturing over the Pennines for a big event in Leeds tomorrow, so we look forward to catching up with him then. Now, in the midst of all our energetic activity promoting road safety, it's vital we don't lose sight of the devastation and misery that accompanies every life lost on the road. With this in mind, I spoke to Nick Simmons from Road Peace to hear more about the work they do and the need for changes in how we view road danger.
Road Peace is the national charity to support victims of road crashes. It's our 30th anniversary. And the primary thing we do is we support people who have either been bereaved or had a life-changing injury as a result of a road crash. There's a typical journey that most of our members make. So once we've tried to support through our helpline, and there's an element of peer-to-peer and befriender services around that. And then I think what our members feel is that they don't want anybody else to have to experience the same tragedy that they have. So campaigning becomes very important. And as you'll know, the justice system can sometimes make the most awful personal experience even worse. So campaigning is a key element. And then remembrance as well, just remembering the loved ones that are no longer with us.
Can you point to some examples of where your activity or your members' activity has led to raised awareness or small changes?
And I think raising awareness is absolutely the key thing. There are so many issues that we can campaign on, and if we're not careful, like all charities, we don't have enough resources and we can spread ourselves too thinly. So I think raising awareness is absolutely key for us. And I suppose one of the most, language is quite important. So, we really feel that road crime should be treated like a real crime. And that's not always been the case. That's what our long-standing members report, that the system hasn't listened. And our Crash Not Accident campaign, it might sound a little bit simplistic, but language is really important. And it's not just an accident. Our members find that word very, very offensive. So we want society to acknowledge it's not just one of those things. Accidents don't just happen. And we were really grateful that over the last few weeks the Department for Transport has stopped using the word accident in the statistics that they report. So that's just a very small sign, I think, of things improving and heading in a better direction than they have for far too long.
Nick, finally, how do you ensure that somebody representing road peace is the right sort of ambassador in this very difficult environment?
I think the first thing I'd say is that, by and large, when I speak to our members, which is genuinely always a privilege, what they say is eminently reasonable. They're not necessarily looking for someone to be locked up and the key thrown away. They just want an appropriate level of punishment. So I would say that voice is very effective. But I think also, if you combine the victim's voice, and by the way, that hasn't always happened. I think sometimes experts think they might know better. But I think combining the victim's voice and the victim's experience is really important. And I think if you can add powerful evidence-based data to that, then you get such a strong message and something that's really very, very difficult to disagree or to argue with. So I think it's that combination of the victim's experience and strong evidence-based content that will help us raise awareness and improve things in this important sector.
Nick Simmons from Road Peace. Now, it's National Safe Speed Day, and here's Jamie Hassall, National Compliance Coordinator for National Highways, with a few words on the importance of safe, legal speeds on the strategic road network.
It's not just about complying with the speed, it's knowing what safe speed it is to do at the time. So, quite often there'll be a national speed limit set. It's often not safe to travel at the national speed limit. On single carriageway roads, the speed limit is 60. It's very rarely that it's safe to travel at 60. Some of these roads are bendy, they're narrow, there's vehicles coming the other way, there's trees on the side of the road, there's junctions, there's pedestrians, there's cyclists. So you've got to be able to look at the road environment and actually think to yourself, what is the safe speed? If there's a horse, what speed do you go past the horse? If there's a cyclist, a pedestrian, you've really got to, drivers have got to be able to read the road environment and actually think, I know what the limit is, but what is the safe speed to actually be travelling at this moment in time?
Let's think also about the importance of being able to stop in time.
So that's a really good example. So, some of the public will be travelling at 80 miles an hour on our network and they think that's perfectly safe. They've always done it and they've never had an accident. But when they do need to stop, if you're travelling just those 10 miles an hour above the limit, the stopping distance is increased by about the length of 2 buses. That's, I think, about 25 metres. The impact speed difference between 70 and 80, where you would have stopped at 70, you're still doing 30 plus miles an hour. That's a lot when you're hitting something, especially if it's a person or, debris or something like that. So you really have to abide by the speed limits and, often don't drive up to the speed limits if it's not safe to do so.
How happy are you with compliance rates as far as speed is concerned on your road network?
I'm never happy. I would love 100%. I know it'll be hard to achieve it and it will take time, but and that's what we've got to get there, and we've got to win hearts and mind, and we've got to actually get drivers to start thinking about why they're doing those things. Those few more miles an hour, does it really save them that much time compared to the risk they do? So every 1% you increase your speed, your risk of having a collision goes up by 2%. The risk of being involved in a fatal goes up by about 4%. So the difference between sort of 70 and 80 can be quite scary if you're involved in a very serious incident.
Jamie Hassall from National Highways. Time now for Neil Dewson-Smith's social media update for day 3.
Thank you, James. Welcome to the M5 northbound at Franklin Services, where we're doing a quick update for today's social media for Project Edward Day 3, safer speeds, and really appropriate reminder of safer speeds with the traffic whizzing by here on the motorway. So we'll just quickly mention 2 of our favourite tweets today. The first one is from the Driving for Better Business team, part of National Highways. They've drawn the distinctions between the differences in speed limits, particularly on A roads, on the major roads and dual carriageways, and especially the distinction between vans and car-derived vans and the slight speed differences that you get there, that many drivers of car-derived and small vans don't often appreciate and can find themselves over the speed limit when they think they're actually okay because they're driving to limits they're used to with cars. Good reminder from the Driving for Better Business team there. The second one, a little bit biased. I'm on my way back from Cardiff, but the Go Safe team have tweeted out some photographs today. from the event this morning at Radder Primary School near Cardiff, where the children were great, and one of the great parts was that the children got involved in a race in the playground, running against the speed camera to be picked out for their speeds, and the sergeant from South Wales Police joined in as well. The children had great fun, they had great entertainment from it, and you think, what's the value of that? The value is that we're building memories into minds of young people whose memories and recollections of situations like that are like sponges. They soak it all in, and it's a memory that they will remember and take with them. The police, they came, they were fun, they were great, and they learnt about speed in a really unusual way. It was great fun today, so that tweet from Go Safe Wales was superb. Nothing else to update on social media today, but we have passed 30 million impressions on social media, so really pleased with the progress. And on National Safe Speeds Day, it's been a busy day with messages from all our friends and partners. So with that, we're going to get away from the M5 and continue the journey for this car, repositioning for its day tomorrow. And back to you, James.
More on National Safe Speed Day, and Darren Lindsay has been out with the Metropolitan Police in London, joining them on their speed enforcement activities.
Day 3 of the Project Edward road trip, and we've been invited here today by the Metropolitan Police to come and take part in their Safer Speeds Day. And I'm here on the Whitechapel Road, and as you can see in the background, it's quite a busy road here in central London. We're not really sure what we're going to capture today, but I'm sure there's going to be many different forms of transportation. We've already seen some micromobility scooters pass by, some of the London bikes, but already to my left, I'm seeing a number of cars being pulled over. And what we'll see later on is a few more interventions with these vehicles and the drivers and some of the officers here to find out what's going on.
My name's Daniel Arnold. I'm a policing inspector with the Metropolitan Police Service responsible for roads policing across North East London. So today, as you can see, we've got a single carriageway road, but it's got lots of road users. We've got dedicated cycle lane, we've got a dedicated bus lane, we've got a lane in each direction, and we've got exactly the same on the opposite carriageway as well. And it's quite a narrow street. The traffic is really, really busy, and then we've got pedestrian traffic as well to contend with. So what we're looking at today is a small operation looking at engaging with road users, whether they be in a car, on a push bike or on a moped, and also looking at e-scooters as well. We're looking at engaging with them, educating them about the road space that they've got and how they've got to share that with other road users. And we're also looking at any offences that we might come across while we're looking at here. We've got what's called a police spotter a bit further down the road, so they'll be looking at people to making sure that they're wearing seat belts and they're not on their mobile phones. And if they are, we can then pull them in here to a safe space and have that grown-up conversation with them.
So this is a Truvelo Pro Laser 4. It's a Home Office approved speed detection device. Essentially, it's got a sight on the top. I'm looking through the sight at the number plate of the cars coming towards me, pulling the trigger, and then that just basically makes a speed reading of the vehicle by firing lasers out. And then the laser coming back to we call it a gun, I suppose. It measures the time between the laser bouncing back, and that's how it records speed. So just measuring the speed of the vehicles passing towards me or coming towards me, and looking in full.
What sort of distance are we talking here? How far ahead are you looking for?
So currently I'm only looking at about 200 metres ahead of me. The device will work up to 750 metres. Over that distance, the laser only spreads as wide as about a foot, so 30 centimetres. So it's quite an accurate piece of equipment for us.
We were tasked to obviously deal with the education and the enforcement side of traffic offences. Yeah. It's one of your main routes into London. So whereas you've got the A13 and things like that, this runs parallel for a fair distance of the A13. It's a good route in from the A12 as well to get to the city, so you get a lot of traffic to pass through this road. Obviously, if you can see the wrongdoing that you've done, there's a bit of remorse there, there's a bit of understanding of the dangers as well, and you can take that on board, then for something low level, I'm quite happy to have a conversation. But yeah, obviously that discretion is there. Ultimately though, it can be a fine, and for use of a mobile phone it'll be penalty points as well. With that one, she hasn't contravened the light, There was no one else around her. There was no danger caused to any person. And granted, she held it in her hand, but she didn't look like she was talking. She didn't look like she was tapping away, if that makes sense. So it was held up by the window. We'll have a conversation. We'll see what her reasons are and then go from there, basically.
What a day that's been. And I've had the opportunity to just have a debrief with the Project Edward team here, just to pick up on a number of the highlights that we've experienced today. Spending, I would say, a very privileged day with our friends here at the Met Police. One point I should mention here is that the Met Police have one of the few dedicated road safety units in the UK, which I think showed today with certain times of as much as 20 to 25 people being present in uniform for this exercise. So it certainly shows you their commitment to this task. One of the team managed to go out with one of the pursuit officers and he managed to get some excellent commentary there in terms of what offending looks like. The way that they engaged with the public, the empathy, the way they talked about education, it came across in a really nice way that I think the public really start to understand the role of policing. So again, a very positive point that we picked up. But one or two things that were added to the equation today, and I think will come out more tomorrow, is the importance of infrastructure. We went to 2 different places today, and a number of things struck home is that we seem to be aware, based on the data, where the trouble is, or if you're going to fish, where to cast the net. But what is it we're doing differently to try and sort of improve that area? So if we're not going to catch the bad people there, what can we do to actually reduce the numbers of people offending in a particular spot so it returns to 0? If we do that, then that is when we know we're doing the job right, I suppose. But I'd just like to end this by saying what a tremendous day. Great big thank you on behalf of the Project Edward team to everyone involved here at the Met Police, and please keep up the good work.
Darren Lindsay in London. Now it's time for part 3 of the Driving for Better Business feature on engaging local businesses in work-related road safety.
In this video, we're going to look in more detail at the local business engagement packs that we've created for the Kent and Medway Casualty Reduction Partnership. Each pack contains 3 items. It contains a guide for local firms on how to use Driving for Better Business, a physical copy of our award-winning Van Driver Toolkit, and a book on how to ensure you're running a safe and compliant fleet. The guide to Driving for Better Business starts with a simple explanation of what work-related road risk is and why businesses need to manage it, ensuring drivers and vehicles are safe and roadworthy at all times. We'll also show the other benefits that come from good management of drivers and vehicles. In part 1, we looked at some of the impressive reductions in collisions and insurance claims from a number of businesses that were achieved through good management. These typically lead to other really significant business benefits in terms of cost control and improved efficiency. This is the business message that is likely to really resonate with firms in your area. We outline the simple 7-step framework that businesses can follow to achieve improvement, and we show them how to sign up and access some of our other resources, including the award-winning Van Driver Toolkit. The Van Driver Toolkit contains around 35 driver safety cards on a broad range of topics. These include cards on driver licensing and responsibilities, fitness to drive, safe driving, driver safety, restrictions, smarter driving and seasonal driving. Available online, it contains shareable PDFs, videos and web pages on each theme for firms to share with their drivers. We've now started to add pre-recorded toolbox talks for firms who don't have their own training resources. The Fleet Confidence book was written to accompany a free learning resource created in collaboration with our partners at Fleet Check. It talks fleet managers through a fictional story where a van driver is involved in a typical collision, and we look at what went wrong and who was to blame. It talks through 10 of the most important responsibilities that managers have when it comes to managing road risk, including understanding legal compliance, writing and sharing a driving for work policy, driver and vehicle management, and finally record keeping and reporting. In the next video, we're going to look at what's available for your local fleet operators once they've joined the Driving for Better Business programme.
That's the end of the programme and our third day of the 2022 Week of Action. Thank you to everyone who helped with today's events. Thanks to our partners and of course thanks to you for watching. Don't forget to follow our social media channels. We're on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and YouTube. Like and share our messages if you can and post your own road safety messages adding the hashtag Project Edward. Also check out the Project Edward podcast, Are We There Yet?, which you can access on the Project Edward website or wherever you normally get your podcasts. Tomorrow the road trips will be visiting Leeds, Guildford and Leighton Buzzard. I hope you can join us for another packed programme tomorrow. But from all of us in the studio for Project Edward today, it's goodbye.